All right. Good day, folks. Thanks for coming to find the warmth of our sun here. I'm Matthew Brogan, your host here at Madison 365. This messy open here today for you folks. Had some technical difficulties on early recording, attempting to do this, and I think in a couple weeks going to be working on getting y'all a book review of sorts on this book called "Searching for Black Confederates." The title alone, right? So far, it's been illuminating and interesting. But on that note, I want to sweep across a few different things. My main plan today was going to talk about, police in the news across the nation, but then also the article itself isn't interesting. And in fact, it's a bunch of nothing. But the fact that it was written is the most interesting or illuminating aspect of it. Particularly if you pay attention to some of the rumors that the Tom Nelson campaign has been, again, rumors, unsubstantiated rumors, but rumors, word on the street is that the Nelson campaign has been attempting to dig up as much dirt on the fellow candidates within the Senate race as possible, particularly Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, and has been pitching stuff left and right, and it's been, spaghetti at the wall. Daniel Bice, writes for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, dropped an article on the 17th, so on Friday, I want to believe, that the headline, it's all, is way more incriminating, way more anything than the actual details. The headline was Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes filed no income tax returns and was on Badger Care during the 2018 campaign. The implication is, and particularly in the fact that this headline in itself is a dog whistle, is the fact that they're using a black man to, talk down about those that are using Badger Care, and there's a real racial lens, particularly in that aspect of Badger Care and no income tax. The fact is, Mandela was unemployed during the year 2018 of his campaign for lieutenant governor. He had no income, and no real Badger Care. Now the Nelson campaign tried, made a comment in it, and again trying to make this a bigger deal than it actually is. He wasn't employed. And Bice tried to again dig deep and find controversy in this thing of that was there or not there. Really, there's nothing there. He, again, wasn't employed. Didn't have any income, I should say, and lived off his savings during the campaign. Was reimbursed here and there for some of his expenses, but it's normal, totally normal. But Bice absolutely has it out for Mandela, and it's absolutely disgrace of an article if the Tom Nelson campaign indeed did work to have this run as opposition research. Shame on them. This is a big old fat racist dog whistle and a big pile of nothing to try and do who knows what. And Bice, try to drag even more and try and wrap this in around unpaid parking tickets and falling behind on paying 2018 property taxes. Again, 2018 was a busy year for the man. And who hasn't forgotten to pay some parking tickets, yo? Come on. Come on, this is the best you got? This is what you're doing? This is what you're spending your time on? We got Ron Johnson over here, Mr. Insurrectionist, Mr. Publicly denies a campaign, and all this stuff isn't being asked upon him over and over. Bice isn't running about why he isn't, out there talking about the campaign. They ain't talking about how he ain't voting to support people. No, they digging it up, trying to find any which way dirt on this black man who's running a really good campaign and running away with it. And the class condensation around Badger Care, get out of here. Nah, get out of here. Forget that nonsense. Y'all on something. Y'all just really on something about this. And I'm totally off script right now, but it's... They're bugging. They are bugging out. It's a shame. It's an absolute shame. The fact is, every Wisconsin journalist, at every interaction that they have with Ron Johnson, need to bring up January 6th insurrection, where he stands with it, why he, worked to or voted against any kind of consequences, his ties to those folks, the fact that he still publicly denounces President Biden as being rightfully elected. This guy is causing chaos. He's not voting for the people, not voting for Wisconsinites, and causing all sorts of trouble. They're not doing anything whatsoever. Yet they're hung up on the will he, won't he run. All right? And trying to dig up dirt on Mandela Barnes. This dude, Senator Ron Johnson, is just, casually threatening the democracy. It's hard with these folks. It's really hard with these folks. It's like it's hard with the police. It's hard to talk about police without people getting very, very irrational and not being able to look at what is. And I know a lot of those folks call me irrational. But hey, I've put in the work. It's okay. So let's make this run through. Police in the news. In the news. So this is from the Gothamist on the NYPD and their rich people problem. So last month, the New York Police Department announced a mobile app for the police department. It's basically for snitches and some 1984 real Orwellian stuff about having people snitch on each other to police through this app. And this is it's again extending that people spying on people thing that they love to do. But this was funded by funds from the New York City Police Foundation. It is the only non-public organization in the city that is legally permitted to raise funds for the police department. So these are private funds, and they've effectively, there's so much money pouring into it, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that's been around since the 1970s and really kicked off the ground as a fundraiser to pay for horses after the mounted horse division was in danger of being cut. The foundation has also raised money for bomb detonating robots, computers for ComStat, real-time crime center and police body cameras, and more. Like there's a lot more in here. Well, and also apparently funding for an international quote-unquote liaison program where they send officers to UAE and Israel, and they station them effectively with intelligence officers with these folks. And these nations have a less than stellar reputation for human rights, particularly against ethnic minorities. Whew, man, I wonder where the, NYPD and why they're having such a trouble getting their act together, right? But this is working as a shadow police budget. This private money, no transparency, is working as a shadow police budget. This foundation has effectively bought and sold, not just sold, bought the NYPD. This foundation is headed by very, very wealthy and business people. It's currently headed up by Andrew Tisch, co-chair of Loew's Corporation, and it's part of the Tisch family is a billionaire family that's run Loew's LOEWS movies, owned and run CBS and the New York Giants. Tisch's name is also found on buildings in NYU, Metropolitan Museum. There and this guy's niece, Andrew's niece, Jessica, is the NYPD's deputy commissioner for information technology. No conflict of interest there. Dale Hemmergerner, one of those weird European names, he's a real estate developer. There's another real estate developer, Lawrence Fink, CEO of BlackRock, the world's biggest financial management firm. Benjamin Winter, real estate developer. Erica Gertler, former co-publisher of the New York Daily News. John Greed, CEO of Mutual of America. Bob Kraft, New England Patriots owner. Another billionaire commercial property owner. Ron Perlman, billionaire businessman. Mort Zuckerman, real estate titan and former owner of the New York Daily News. David Millstone, CEO of Standard Industries. And Ivanka Trump, along with several other folks from a dynastic real estate family. Who do you think they're going to respond to? The NYPD, particularly command staff, right? When it comes to interests and what they do, policy and procedure, how they behave. I mean, let's not forget that no, it's a mess out there. It's a mess. This is part of, well, it's just more evidence to show the police protect wealthy folks and property over actual people. They're people, but you catch my drift. All right. Next, Philadelphia Police Department. So last summer, if you don't remember, another black male was shot and killed by the Philadelphia Police Department. And during the protests, a young mother, Rakia Young, was attempting to, was driving with her 16-year-old nephew, and her child, who was months old. 16-year-old nephew, and 2-year-old son. Sorry, not months old, 2-year-old son. Just want to make sure I got that right. And driving through, wrong turn, got caught up in the protest, were attempting to turn around, get out of the way from it. What did the police do? They broke the windows, dragged these two from their car, and beat them. And there's video evidence of this if you want to see that, as they were attempting to leave. And then they took her son from her, wouldn't let her see for hours. Now this is this is the real nasty part that comes from this. The Fraternal Order of Police then used a photo of the officer holding the child, posted on Instagram, and I know at least on Twitter, maybe Instagram, with a caption that this black child, was lost during the violent riots in Philadelphia, wandering around barefoot in the area that was experiencing complete lawlessness. Go on to say, "We are the thin blue line, and we are the only thing standing between order and anarchy." Look, these fascists, that's some real fascist stuff. They beat this mother, took her child, and then tried to use her child as propaganda against black folks fighting for liberty. Get out of here with that. And the LAPD, in the news, again, they've had quite the summer, particularly as some reports, particularly from the Brennan Center for Justice, and the LA Times has been reporting on this as well, of sheriff, what they call subgroups, but these are gangs. There's a report on the Rand Corporation. Researchers studied deputy subgroups within the LA County Sheriff's Department. Sorry, I equate the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department too much. But these are subgroups. These are gangs. They created notches and markings and ways to rise up through the ranks of the gang. If you use of force against somebody, and particularly if you kill them. They also had their own existing hierarchies and orders and all this stuff that, well, is quite illegal. And of course, the sheriff there says they don't exist, but they exist. There's been multiple reports on them. Many have very close ties, or in particular ideological ties to white nationalists. It's a mess. Then the LAPD, Brennan Center for Justice, dropped a report to LAPD that it found the LAPD officers were told to collect social media data on every civilian they stopped. They collect social media data on every civilian they stopped. They use these interview cards where they go on afterwards and then look through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They also built a relationship with a tech company where they can pull hashtags, and it just so happened that the hashtags that they put on there were related to Black Lives Matter's protests, but it also just so happened that they didn't put any hashtags relating to, our little white nationalists and supremacists and fascist and Nazi groups that are out there. Proud Boys doing their thing. They don't monitor them. Needless to say, the LAPD, there's a lot of video evidence of them, in fact, protecting Proud Boys during protests. Looking the other way when the Proud Boys are casting violence upon somebody, right? And in times, evidence of them even arresting the person that got beat by these Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. And then this organization that they pull from, right, it has also been tied with selling themselves, right? Selling themselves as a tech solution to monitor Black Lives Matter's protests. Mind you, the vast majority of violent protests have, one, either been instigated by police, or two, been right-wing protesters. Again, what are we doing here? But again, this is who they are. This is who they are. You're going to try to tell me we can reform that? We're sitting in Madison, and it's got its issues with this PD. And so we think about it in a very limited scope. But that's just a tidbit of some of the things that have been in the news with police the last couple of weeks. That's just what's happening. There's these police in the news. It's a mess. It's a mess out there. There's a lot going on. And I wish I could have brought you more, but it would have been hours. And we don't see this talked about. We don't see this reported in the same way. We're losing a lot, and we're at a very dangerous spot. We have our press worrying about a lieutenant governor who is unemployed on Badger Care when he is running for office, opposed to a sitting senator who is feeding an ongoing insurrection against a multicultural democracy. It's hundreds and thousands of people are dying of COVID, and this same sitting senator is doing nothing about it, and in fact making it worse. Isn't serving the people of Wisconsin. Isn't serving the nation. National press aren't really doing much better. Many other state and local presses aren't doing much better. They covered the California recall and said the brother that opposed Newsom he won somehow, even though he got his butt handed to him. What do we do? What do we do? Anyways, no, hopefully I'll be able to finish this book in time to pull together a good report for y'all. Talk about it a bit and dig into that subject. And give y'all good information on the myth of black Confederates. Because it's a myth. That y'all can, spread the word out. Anyways, hope y'all enjoyed a nice warm weekend as it gets a little cooler, chillier, and real fall weather here coming up soon. But that is it for this week at Finding the Warmth of Our Sun. Your host here, Matthew Browngan, here at Masson 365. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. Please hit subscribe, share, 5 stars, all that fun jazz. Have yourselves a good week.
This is 365 Media.